Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. It's the week of the coordinators. How great has this been? It's our great privilege to add on to the list as we bring in offensive coordinator, offensive line coach Alex Atkins to the fold. Hello, Coach. Good to have you on board. Good to talk to you again.
Man, I'm glad to be back. I like the name of it, Real Talk Radio. That's my kind of deal, don't know.
We'll get straight to it then, right? Let's go. Let's get real. I mean, hey, so let's start with big picture here. First year last year as the OC and coordinating that. What's your week like now, game week like now, when putting together, I guess, a game plan, coach, and working with the other position coaches? Do they report to you and tell you what they're seeing, and then you collaborate and talk to Coach Norvell? How does that workflow work?
Yeah, we have a good system of, everybody's involved in the game plan week. So basically, we all have our specialties, whether it be red zone, third down, short yardage, and things like that. Every coach has a specific area that's their expertise. And so everybody has a time set up. What I do is I organize a schedule where throughout the week, whether it be on that Monday at 11 o'clock, let's say Coach Thompson, he has a third medium pass game. Me and Coach Norvell will be in the room, in the staff room, and they'll come in and present, and then we'll kind of finalize it. So it's cool now because, the years prior, I had my expertise roles. Now I'm involved in all of the game planning, which is fun to do.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. And that offense began to really click last year, Coach. I think now when you look at it, you get two new tight ends, right? And Kyle Morlock and Jaheim Bell, and that adds on to Marquiston Douglas and what he was doing in the second half of the season, especially. With that, what does that kind of versatility do now for the room, for the offense?
Yeah, whenever you can get in those, 12 personnel sets and getting more tight ends on the field, and also tight ends that can not only block but also stretch the field vertically, it gives you some fun, ideas and toys and concepts to play with. And also, we got some young guys coming along with Jarrell Powers and Jackson West. So that room is developing nicely coming up this offseason.
It's going to be a fight to get on the field because you're just talking about that depth of talent.
Yeah. Or we just put them all out there.
I'm sorry?
Or we just put them all out there.
That's true. You put them all out there. You want competition. Eventually, I'm going to get to the offensive lineman, but one of the things that stands out to me as we get set to head into spring and why I'm so enthusiastic to be able to provide context for my listeners is that, and I was saying this yesterday with Adam Fuller, and I said it with Mike Norvell last week, you get competition and a depth of competition, quality competition at almost every position this year. Obviously, we know who the returning quarterback is, but really there's depth of quality competition throughout the roster.
Yeah, and it should be like that. I mean, we're going into year 4. We're pretty much the same offensive staff, same philosophy, same standards, a lot of same guys on defense. So we're getting to the point where all that work and investment and all that kind of stuff is starting to get to that point. So, it's good to have, but, as we're moving forward and taking that next step, I mean, that's what we need to have, and that's what we should have.
What do you want to see when you go into a spring camp, Coach? Do you have a checklist of things that you would like to have resolved by the end of the spring to know before you head into fall camp? I've got this, and this, and I feel good about this. Or do you not look at it that way? Do you look at it as it's wide open? Obviously, coaches are always going to talk about breeding competition. I'm just kind of curious about a checklist in the spring. When you have this much talent and you're seeking that balance and you're looking for that competition, what is it you're looking to accomplish throughout the spring?
Spring is about development and understanding. We want to, we're in mat drills right now. We're in our tour duty process of, understanding toughness and fighting through and seeing guys kind of reach just incremental growth every day of what they can become, whether that been from a starter that's been starting for 3 years or a guy that's fighting just to get off scout team. It's just basically development and then our knowledge of the offense and the schemes and the concepts, and then just basically memorizing the flashes so their reaction time is faster. So it's just a complete, evaluation, development, understanding of the knowledge of everything. And basically, like, it's not like, I like what you said, like the depth charts and things like that. Like we do walkthroughs that we're allowed to do. I tell the guys, I don't care who's out there as long as it's 5. I don't particularly care who's out there. There's no depth chart. There's no 1, 2, 3. I don't care. As long as 5 people show up, I'm good. So now they kind of challenge them also to jump in there. Like I tell them, I don't care what receivers jump in, as long as it's, when the personnel grouping is in, we got the right amount of people out there. So you go out there and go get those reps, because that's not the focus at the moment. The focus right now is making sure we're developing, we're reaching heights and different benchmarks that we need to get to in their personal lives also, but just getting better overall.
Coach, I've had offensive coordinators and head coaches who were offensive minded tell me that one of the ways that they knew their quarterback was progressing and had figured out maybe the offense or the playbook was when they start to ask the right kind of questions. Mm-hmm. And that in the meeting room, they're asking the kinds of questions that suggest they have a greater grasp of what they're doing. When you're judging an offensive lineman in that regard, what is it that let's say we're going into spring here like we are, is there something that indicates to you, oh, this guy's about to take a step beyond just the physical? They're bigger and stronger, let's say, from year to year. Do you hear something like that, like the right question, or is he doing the right things that tells you this is a player that has an opportunity?
Absolutely. I look at it as a toolbox. It's my job is to give them the basic tools. If you need, your screwdriver, your flathead, your ratchet set, the basic things when you first walk into a tool store and you're your first time going to Home Depot or Lowe's, or your first house you just bought, you're excited. So you go get those foundational sets. But then as you get deeper in it, you might say, that requires a different wrench. So when I see players start looking for those specialty tools to be able to up their game, they're not just at the base, man, I'm just trying to, fix a light switch. Now they're talking about, okay, now I need this transponder to hit the electrical wire. Like when it gets deeper into it, that's how the progression is being made, where they're going from being a football player to basically they're not just a football player. They're going into more that this is the way of life. Like, I want to be an expertise at my craft. I want to master my craft. So it's not, I like the questions concept of it. It's just more of like, all right, coach, I know how to take a 45-degree set, but now when I get to the bottom of the set, can I kind of go with my inside hand to the armpit or the bicep to lock the arm that I can grab? Like when you start getting into those conversations of personal growth, where Rob Scott is different from Bless Harris. So those two, both, they get the base coaching package, but now how they up their games individually? How do they become masters of their craft? So we want to give them that first starter ratchet set. We want to give them that first starter screwdriver set, and then they want to go get electrical tools, and they want to tear down walls. And so when you see that progression of those light bulbs going off, like, man, I can do more with this, is when you cooking with some good food now.
Are you handy with a recip saw?
No, not me. Not your boy. All I know about is these third and ones. I'm sorry. We get better than that.
Yeah, given the analogy and the metaphor, I thought, man, my man's handy around the house. I got to see what he does.
The only thing I'm handy with is making sure that I ain't in the way.
Coach, you bring in Jeremiah Byers from UTEP and Casey Roddick from Colorado and Keandre Jones from Auburn. And this is on the heels of successfully providing quality depth and even starters via the portal a year ago. I guess I would ask you, what is it you're looking for when you're looking at potential transfer portal kids for the offensive line? What do they have to have? What are you checking off the boxes there that before you even begin to think about bringing them in?
Number one, they have to have the heart of giving and to pour into the guys already got on the roster. When I first make contact with a guy that's an older guy or a porter guy, the first thing is I'm asking to say, look, man, I'm bringing you in here to provide a different perception to the guys that are already here. We signed some guys here that this all they know is this way. And with you being in the portal, you understand that there's different ways to do it. So number one, I want you to come help them and teach them, hey, this, I've been through this, or be that experience for them. But also, there's a point of gratitude of understanding the good things that they're getting that they might have didn't get, or just a change in how it helped them. So it's just different perceptions. And I also want them to challenge me. Like, hey, coach, I seen it done like this. Why did we do it like this? Because now my players in that room see those conversations, and it's about finding the best way. So number one, they got to come in with a heart of giving and understanding that their job is to come in here and pour into the guys that are already on this roster. Now, they're also going to elevate themselves and make sure they're on point and getting better to try to get on the field. But it's all about giving back to those guys. So I tell them, if you come in this room and it's a selfish or I'm coming here to play type of mentality, you're not going to make it here very long.
And that's how you can keep locker rooms intact and pulling in the same direction, right? I mean, that has been well documented that the portal has been successfully utilized by you and the entire staff to this point. and there doesn't seem to be any cultural, degradation. Everybody seems to be on the same page and not really taking offense to that.
I think it's a hot topic, but I mean, the year before we signed 5 high school offensive linemen, and then this year we brought Lucas Simmons in and Andre Otto. So we're the portal is supplemental. We just hit on this. We've hit on some good players in it. So now that becomes the topic of discussion, because those other young guys we got are still developing in their development process, but they're also still in the picture. They're still also competing. Those guys are just a little bit older and probably a little bit more experienced. But like, we got some guys right now on the heels of putting some of them dudes on the bench, so they better be on point.
It's a good problem to have, Coach. So much experience and talented players battling for 5 spots, if you will. Is it an exaggeration to say you have, I don't know, a dozen or more guys that you could conceivably see win starters jobs?
High possibility. I think that's probably a good number at it. But what I've also learned is, man, you can get to the summer, and one of these guys can come out of nowhere on you and really do it. Like, it can really jump up and make a lot of strides and kind of be more like, that's what happened with Rob Scott when he first got here. It was a guy that under the radar couldn't even go through individual drills with me. I had to put him on the side, and he worked with Man Ray at the time, who was his graduate assistant, now with Coach Cooper, and he had to do his own thing because he wasn't even physically able to go. When you saw about game 2 or 3, he started figuring it out, and he came in, he sat some people down. So it's interesting to see the dynamic of guys that just kind of, once that light bulb goes off and they're like, all right, I'm all in. It's just that change can happen rather quickly.
I hate to single out any one guy. You mentioned him, and the fan base is going to want to hear your thoughts on what's possible for a freshman like Lucas Simmons. Obviously, a very high-profile recruit, and a lot of people have described him as a future NFL tackle. That's many years from now, perhaps. But your thoughts on the fact that you've had to utilize at times what people would consider to be guards playing tackle and the like. You now have guys that are more quote-unquote suited to play tackle. He's 6'8", 300-plus pounds coming in as a freshman. Your thoughts on him and maybe some others that you may want to mention.
So you got Lucas Simmons coming in with a work mentality. I'll give him a good shout out because, I hadn't had to deal with him. He's been on point academically. He's been on point with attendance. He's working hard. He's learning it. He's doing a good job of kind of taking his own time to demand it. But, you got guys like Lucas Simmons. You got guys like Julian Armella. You got Dalton Richardson. You got Jalen Early. That's 4 young guys right there that are really competing to make contributions that are going to surprise some people. Those guys are really dedicated to it right now. They're working hard, and the competition that we brought in has kind of upped their elevation of focus. So, it's going to be fun to watch. I always tell them it's like Drake. We're going to see.
It's good to talk to you, Coach. I appreciate you making time for us today. I'll see you out there on the football field. It's going to be a fun spring. Be well, good sir. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care. It's Alex Atkins, the offensive coordinator for Florida State, also offensive line coach. Got a bevy of players to work with as we head into spring, and a lot of talent. Should be a lot of fun to document that as we move forward. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.